I apologize if I fangirl all over this episode. Surprisingly, but not surprisingly if you know me very well, I already had this movie in my collection, even though I had never seen it. I think one day I just went on a Wes Anderson binge buying spree on Amazon for any of his movies that were under $5, even if I hadn't seen them before. Whoops. This one was a tough one for me to watch, but not because it was a bad movie by any means. I love pretty much all of Wes Anderson's movies, but the way he crafts his movies, the preciseness, the perfection, it just pulls me in, and I can't help but just focus on that instead of focusing on the actual story. But I did take some notes to the best of my ability. So let's get started on that, but before we do, as always, there will be spoilers. Rushmore stars Jason Schwartzman as Max Fisher, Bill Murray as Herman Bloom, and Olivia Williams as Rosemary Cross. And of course, it's directed by the wonderful Wes Anderson and co-written by him and his usual writing partner, Owen Wilson. There's even a slight cameo by Owen Wilson's brother Luke. Rushmore is about a 15-year-old boy named Max Fisher who is obsessed with being involved in pretty much every aspect of his prep school, Rushmore. The school is his passion and the only thing he wants to do with the rest of his life until he meets Herman Bloom and Miss Cross. The book doesn't really give much insight into Rushmore other than a summary in its only half a page entry, although it does dub this film as Bill Murray's, quote, finest dramatic hour, unquote. I guess they hadn't seen Lost in Translation, which surprisingly isn't even on the list. Now for my thoughts on this, I really have it just broken down into my general thoughts and then Max Fisher and Herman Bloom. Like I said earlier, I didn't really take very many in-depth notes on this. I mostly just focused on the aesthetic because I love Wes Anderson's aesthetic so much. Everything he does is so precise and calculated, down to the minutest detail in the background. He always has everything framed so perfectly. Usually the main focus is in the center of the frame, or if there's two characters talking, they're framed opposite each other with the exact right amount of space between them and behind them in the frame, and it's just to my nerdy little film-obsessed heart, even though I am no cinematographer, it makes me so happy to see that perfection in there. Even though I love the little imperfections and asymmetry in most films, the way Wes Anderson puts symmetry into his films, along with specific color palettes for each film, music picked specifically for specific scenes, even the line readings he gets from his actors are very specific and so subtly comedic, especially in Rushmore. It's just astounding and masterfully crafted. Now, Max Fisher is a complicated yet uncomplicated character. He is very precocious, talking to adults like he is an adult himself, and he acts like he owns Rushmore because he is in love with Rushmore so much. It's his life. He's founded so many different clubs and he's a part of so many more, and he just is obsessed with being a big part in the center of attention at Rushmore that he doesn't even focus on his grades, mostly because he daydreams that he actually is amazing and everybody loves him, even though most of his classmates really don't. But he blocks all that out because he thinks that he's better than everyone else. Even though his classmates are really rich and he's there on a scholarship because his dad's just a barber and he's poor, he still really tries to act like he's on their level, I guess. And his entire motivation throughout this is based on his obsession with something. In the beginning, it's his obsession with Rushmore and all of the clubs that he's started. And then once he finds this library book and this quote, and he goes and sees this teacher, Miss Cross, his entire obsession through the second act of this movie is based on his love for Miss Cross. And this obsession through the third act of the movie is getting Mr. Bloom and Miss Cross back together because he tore them apart. And him and the audience both really kind of realized throughout the film that the friendship that Max, Mr. Bloom, and Miss Cross have is really held together by Max. He's the one that brings them all together in the first place, and he's the one that kind of breaks them up, then gets them all back together again. And after Max sees the speech that Mr. Bloom gives at Rushmore towards the beginning, he really starts looking up to Mr. Bloom, and really is the reason why he starts the friendship with Mr. Bloom. He starts drinking whiskey and even starts to smoke just so he can be more like Mr. Bloom. And Mr. Bloom. Mr. Bloom is quite an interesting character. I don't have much on him, but Mr. Bloom is an eccentric millionaire with two twin boys who also go to Rushmore, and they are pretty much the biggest assholes ever. They literally beat their dad up when they find out that he's cheating on their mom with Miss Cross. They don't even care that their mom is cheating on their dad in public at their birthday party. So yeah, Mr. Bloom has the short end of the stick there. But he kind of compensates for that, or overcompensates, I guess, by acting like a child and befriending Max Fisher. And you can tell that he really starts to fall apart after he and Max start fighting over Miss Cross. He's disheveled, he gets kicked out of his house because Max tells his wife that he's cheating on her with the teacher, and he just really becomes even more childish than ever. After I watched this, while I was thinking back on what I wanted to talk about in this video, one thing I really did notice was that this movie really could have been played by all adults. Like, Miss Cross could have been Max's boss in a company or something, and it would have been a totally different but similar movie. But I think having Max as a teenager being friends with two adults gives it that little subtle comedy and little hint of rebellion. There weren't really any famous quotes that I could pull from this movie, but it's chock full of classic Wes Anderson cinematography. So I chose one of the more famous scenes in this movie, which is basically the introduction to Max's character and his personality. That's all I have for Rushmore, and as always, these are just my opinions. Of course, I want to know yours in the comments down below. What did you think of Rushmore? Are you a fan of it? Are you a fan of Wes Anderson? Let me know. And also give me any feedback you think I should add or be talking about each movie for this series. Anything from the book specifically you want me to talk about, anything specifically from the movie you want me to talk about, anything you think I'm leaving out or needs to be put in, let me know in the comments down below. I always love constructive criticism. If you want to know which films I have already watched or you want to keep up with my progress, there is a link to a Google Doc in the description down below with a list of every movie I have seen so far as I watch them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you, whoever you are. Let me know who you are in the comments down below and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I post a new one of these every other Sunday, and next Sunday's movie is going to be Full Metal Jacket. I also post a new movie review most every Friday, and every Tuesday I post a new video talking about movies, TV shows, other nerdy fun things. Sometimes my life, it's really just what I feel like that week. I will see you guys next time. Bye!